Linda and Monica grew up like sisters. Not the kind of friendship people pretend to have. Real friendship. They did everything together. Shared clothes, shared secrets, shared dreams, and they even made a promise that one day they would get married around the same time. But life had other plans. Linda met Michael first, a wealthy, successful businessman. Calm, respected, stable, but beyond the money. He treated Linda with love and care, and naturally, their relationship grew into marriage. Then came the wedding day, and it was beautiful. Monica stood right beside Linda, not as an ordinary guest, but as her chief maid of honor. She helped her dress, adjusted her veil, organized everything, and smiled with genuine happiness. She laughed, she danced, she celebrated Linda's big day wholeheartedly. To everyone watching, Monica looked like the most supportive friend in the world, and at that time, she truly was. After the wedding, Linda became a deeply loving wife. She was present, supportive, attentive, emotionally available. Their marriage was peaceful, stable, admired, and although Michael was wealthy, their home wasn't built on money. It was built on love. Everything was going well until Monica's life fell apart. Her relationship ended suddenly. No warning, no closure, no explanation. The man she planned her future with simply disappeared emotionally. She didn't take it well. Slowly, she became withdrawn, depressed, emotionally unstable, and at one point, she even became suicidal. Linda noticed immediately, and without hesitation, she opened her home. Michael agreed, and Monica moved in. At first, everything seemed to improve. Linda and Michael supported her fully. They took her out often. Malls, restaurants, clubs, social gatherings. They wanted her to heal, to laugh again, to feel alive again, and for a while, it worked. Monica smiled again, started engaging with life again, started feeling like herself again. But healing didn't remove pain, it only buried it. Living inside Linda's home slowly changed something inside Monica. Not overnight, gradually, she started seeing Linda's life up close. A peaceful marriage, a wealthy and stable husband, a home filled with comfort, respect, security, and slowly, she began comparing. At first, just thoughts, then questions, then discomfort, until eventually, it became envy. Not because Linda did anything wrong, but because Monica started wanting what Linda had. She started getting closer to Michael. Small conversations, then emotional support, then longer moments together. Michael resisted at first, but over time, boundaries weakened, and eventually, he gave in. Not because Linda failed him, not because she neglected him, but because he chose to betray her trust. And Monica chose to continue. While Linda remained a loving and faithful wife, working hard, caring for her home, trusting both her husband and her best friend, Monica and Michael began an affair. Inside the same house, every time Linda left for work, Michael returned home. Again and again and again, a hidden betrayal under one roof. But someone noticed, the gate man. He realized something strange. Whenever Linda left, Michael always came back shortly after. Same timing, same pattern every single time. He watched carefully for days until eventually he spoke. He told Linda, but she dismissed it. Not because she was careless, but because she trusted them deeply. Still, the information stayed in her mind, and slowly she started observing. At work, Linda began thinking back. Small things, subtle changes in behavior, emotional distance she couldn't explain, Monica becoming too comfortable in her space, but she didn't accuse. She watched, she waited, and quietly she planned with the gate man. One morning, Linda left for work like usual. Nothing unusual, nothing suspicious, just another normal day, and right on schedule, Michael returned home. The gate man saw it again, same timing, same pattern, but this time, he didn't stay silent. He called immediately. Madam, Olga don't come house. Linda left work immediately. She drove home fast, not panicking, not emotional, just calm, focused. She parked outside the gate. She didn't rush, didn't run. She walked in slowly, step by step, and then she saw them, Michael and Monica, together. But they didn't know she saw them. Linda didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't ask questions. She simply turned around and walked away. Quietly, calmly, like someone who had just reached the end of a chapter. If she entered her car, closed the door, and broke down for the first time, the pain arrived completely. She cried bitterly. Everything she had been holding together finally shattered. She sat there, overwhelmed by betrayal. Then slowly, she looked into the car mirror, her reflection stared back, and then she smirked because she thought of something better. Her revenge. Linda returned home and acted like everything was normal. No questions, no confrontation, no suspicion. She gave them absolutely no reason to think she knew, and Michael and Monica continued freely, carelessly, even foolishly, until Monica became pregnant. That was when they decided to tell Linda, not with guilt, not with shame, not with fear, but without remorse. Almost proudly, they told her directly, waiting for tears, waiting for begging, waiting for drama. But Linda said nothing. She listened quietly, then packed her things and left. They didn't stop her. Instead, they celebrated, thinking they had won, but unknown to Michael, something else had been happening. Quietly, silently, for a long time. The documents he had been signing, thinking Linda was acquiring land for a future project, were not what he thought. Signature after signature, document after document. He had been transferring his business, his wealth, his empire to Linda because Michael saw her as a loving, obedient, devoted wife, someone who could never outsmart him. Meanwhile, she was taking everything, leaving him with nothing. 2 weeks later, property managers arrived and demanded they leave. They said the real owner wants to renovate. Michael laughed, confident. He brought out his documents. This is my house. But they brought out theirs, and his face changed. His documents expired, invalid, and the owner was no longer him. It was the gate man. Michael froze. He couldn't understand. But the truth was simple. Linda gave the house to the gate man and gave him authority inside Michael's company, now her company, and with calm authority, the gate man ordered them out. The same house they thought they owned was no longer theirs, and the man they once ignored was now the one kicking them out. They left more humiliated than ever. Michael sold his watches, his 2 phones, his perfumes, and with what remained, they rented a single room. Life changed overnight. The wealthy man became a struggling man. He returned to the office. Security stopped him. His access removed. Accounts inaccessible. Everything gone. Soon, people started seeing him at construction sites, doing bricklaying work. People who once respected him walked past him without recognition. And Monica changed too. The once loving Monica disappeared. Now, she complained constantly. Nothing pleased her. The jokes she once laughed at became irritating. Every conversation became an argument. Every day, tension. No peace, no softness, just survival. Michael became exhausted, not emotionally, completely. He could barely provide 2 meals. Then things got worse. Monica had a miscarriage, and that was when Michael felt his life was truly over. After that, Monica stopped caring. She left whenever she wanted, returned whenever she wanted. Rumors spread. Eventually, she began prostitution, returning only to sleep, and the relationship that started in excitement became unbearable. You may wonder, why didn't Michael get another decent job? Well, Linda made sure the story became public. Local news carried it, national news carried it. His disgrace spread everywhere. No company wanted him. No business wanted his name. His reputation became his punishment. 10 months later, Michael heard there was an opening. A new textile company had started operations. They were hiring drivers. The owner was an American-based businessman who was originally from Nigeria. Michael decided to try his luck, and surprisingly, he got the job. He was appointed as the personal driver of Mr. Williams. This was the best news he had received in months. By then, Monica had already packed out to live with another man. For the first time in a long time, Michael felt maybe life was changing. He collected his employment letter and prepared to resume the following day. Michael dressed in his best clothes, went to work. Everything was going smoothly until he drove Mr. Williams home and saw someone standing there, Linda, but she looked different, so different that for a second, he couldn't recognize her. Her skin looked brighter. Her appearance carried confidence. Her weight gain suited her perfectly. Her curves stood out elegantly. Even her perfume smelled expensive. She looked like wealth, like peace, like someone whose life had only improved. Then she walked forward and hugged Mr. Williams, then pecked him. That was when Michael noticed the engagement ring. It turned out Linda's company had secured a major deal with Mr. Williams' company. That was how they met. Business deal became love deal, and before they knew it, they had fallen deeply in love, and he was already preparing to make her his bride. Michael stared, then quietly called Linda. She turned, trying to remember where she knew the face from. Then she remembered the face of her betrayer. Before she could speak, Mr. Williams's voice thundered, "How dare you call my fiancée by her name?" Then he looked at Michael coldly. "Do you still love your job?" Then he turned to Linda. "Sweetheart, do you know him?" Linda looked at Michael, paused, then said calmly, "Yeah, he was my past." Mr. Williams looked at Michael and said, "You will address her with respect." And Michael stood there silent because for the first time, he truly understood what he had lost. And that was how Michael lived, day after day, watching Linda live the best life he had ever imagined. Regret came instantly, but regret never came alone. It came with memories. Every night when he returned home, he shed bitter tears. The memories became unbearable. Their conversations, their early days, her loyalty, her kindness, her love, everything he once ignored now became painful to remember. He kept asking himself, how could I lose someone so precious? How could I make such a disastrous mistake? But questions like that no longer change anything. This was a mistake he would carry for the rest of his life. His reputation was ruined. He lost his business, his wealth, his marriage, his respect, everything. But what hurt him the most was seeing Linda standing at the altar again. She wore the most beautiful wedding dress he had ever seen. She looked peaceful, happy, whole. With joyful tears and a smile, she said, "I do," to Mr. Williams. And in that moment, Michael realized something painful. Once upon a time, she had stood before him and said those same words. Now she belonged to another life, another future, and he had become nothing more than someone from her past. The worst part? He now had to address her as madam. He tried, but he couldn't take it anymore. Eventually, he resigned, left the city, and returned to his village, where he invested himself in farm work quietly, without attention, without status, just trying to survive with the life he had left. As for Monica, life did not become what she imagined either. One night, while going out, she was involved in a terrible motor accident. She survived, but the accident left her with lasting physical challenges. Everything she had saved went into treatment and hospital bills. She could no longer continue the life she had been living. With nowhere else to go, she returned to her village and became dependent on her parents. The same future she once tried to escape became the one she had to face. One day in the village, she sat quietly and turned on the television, and there she saw it. Linda, successful, married to a billionaire, and now expecting a child. The camera showed her smiling, confident, at peace. Monica lowered her head and cried bitterly, not because she hated Linda, but because she finally understood what she had destroyed. She remembered the wedding, the friendship, the trust, everything, but every connection with Linda had already been severed. There was no return, no conversation, no fixing it. She was left alone with regret, and over time, she withdrew more and more from everyone around her, unable to face the life she had built for herself. And that was the end of a friendship that once felt unbreakable. Because sometimes people don't lose their lives, they lose good people and only understand their value when it is too late.